Today we're going to be looking at a moderately competitive term. If you're a decorator in a city like Leeds, then really you want to be on the top three for both the map pack as well as the what's called the SERP results, which is this Google search here. And really with some SEO foundations, it should be pretty achievable. It's not a hyper competitive market or hyper competitive service, for example, like plumbing in central London would be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a business that's at the bottom of page one and run through a quick audit. I've already had a look through Pro Strokes, so I know what some of the good and the bad, but hopefully some of these issues will also be familiar or similar on your own websites. And there are some, pretty quick and easy fixes that will help boost this business from the bottom of page one up to pushing up to the top three. So let's have a look. So really, to cover the good, first of all. So the good really is that they've got clickable numbers and emails in the header. And, what a lot of customers really will do is they'll be Googling in a bit of an emergency or trying to get a number of quotes together. So you want to make sure that your email and your phone number is easily accessible and not buried somewhere within the page. Ideally, this header would be fixed. So as you scroll down, they're always there, scrolling down with you, so you can click to call or click to email at any time. Another good thing is there's a good social presence here. So there's a presence on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Yelp pages, Google pages. Now, this is good for kind of your internet coverage, really, and it's becoming increasingly more important with AI, because when AI is looking at Pro Strokes, it's looking for references across the web for this business and not just your website. So having active profiles on each of these social platforms is something that is really useful, as well as just giving you more marketing coverage with potential customers. The other thing that I noted is there's a pretty decent amount of content on the homepage. Typically, you want to go for a minimum 500 words on each of the pages that you're actively trying to rank, which I think this pretty much just about does, which is obviously one reason why it's getting onto page one for this homepage. I also like this call to action here. This does come down with you. It kind of negates the fact that there's no sticky header, which is good, that you can kind of click to get your quote at any time. Another thing that is worth noting is that if you right click on your browser and you go to inspect, a good little way of seeing how your website looks on mobile is to click this button. And as you can see here, this sticks to the bottom of the page, which again, for mobile, which is what most of your customers will be finding you on, this is it's a good conversion element there. So positive marks for that. Then we're on to the bad, and I've picked out 7 key areas that I think should be improved on this website in order to get it ranking, towards the top 3 SERPs really for decorator or painter leads. So the first one is, whilst the headings are well optimized, you've got the main keyword as well as the location there, which is key. You've also got that for the SEO title, which is great. You want them to be both the same across both, not exactly the same, but you want them to have the same main keyword as well as the location you're targeting across both your SEO title and your what should be a H1. But after doing a little bit of a technical due diligence here, you can see that this is flagging up as H2. Now, this isn't necessarily a major issue, but if you think about how Google reads websites, it's reading it typically in kind of a markdown format, where it's not looking at it like a human being would, but in structured data terms. It wants to see clean, what's the heading, the main heading of that page, which is the H1, and then you can split that then each section into H2s and H3s and so forth. But this hasn't got H1, so you're not signaling to Google what the main heading of that page is, and you're missing out on a really good opportunity to kind of nail down the keyword focus of this business and this homepage. Another thing you might have noticed when going through to other pages is this technical issue. I've tried this in a few different browsers and it keeps on coming up. I'm not exactly sure what this is triggering this. It would need a bit more of a technical audit. But this, I mean, it's bad for conversion elements, but also will be bad for, Google's eyes as well. But really, from a customer's perspective, you don't want this coming up because it's not great for adding extra clicks into going to each page, as well as it doesn't signify that this website is necessarily completely up to date. Then going through, so they've got lots of service pages, which is great to see. And they're listed here. Typically, you want them listed quite high up on your homepage so people can immediately navigate to exactly what they're looking for. But these are all linking to the same interior services page, which is fine, because then we've got the individual pages here. But what I would say for these individual pages is that they're very thin. And in SEO terms, that means that there's a real lack of content on there. Like I said, you typically want at least 500 words within those pages you're trying to rank. You also want the location being targeted on this page. So there's no mention of Leeds on here, and there's no mention of Leeds on the SEO title either. Oh no, there is. So that's fine, but you'd want it in the H1. I'll just check here whether this is a H1 or whether it's also H2. Oh, that's a H1, so that's good. So you want the keyword and the location there, but you want a lot more content than this. You want content specifically about interior woodwork painting, the type of wood that you work with, maybe some case studies or some mentions of houses or neighborhoods that you've done within Leeds that have interior woodwork, typical like Victorian terrace houses and stuff like that. You want localized information about the type of interior woodwork painting that you do, the different techniques that you can do. Really, a good way of looking at this is to go to a quite competitive area, say, for example, London within the UK, and Google interior woodwork painting London and see what the top performing page there is mentioning, because that's the kind of information that Google wants to see. Another area then, similar to the service pages, is the location pages. Now, this, you've got a location landing page here, which is fine. And then you've got individual pages, for example, for Meanwood. Now, this used to be very achievable to rank location pages like this. You used to basically have like the same template page and just swap in Meanwood, and then here it would be any other location you want to rank for. And you can tell this is basically a template where the copy is exactly the same, but they've just swapped in the location name there. And I'm willing to bet that this doesn't rank as well as it could do if it just had very localized information, because all we've got here is a paragraph. We've only got Meanwood. We haven't got painter and decorators Meanwood, for example. So you're missing out on the keyword search there as well. And these images I've checked are the same on every location page. You really need to look at, so an example of a site that I've worked on is here. If you look at, and this is end of tenancy cleaning in London, so it is competitive, but you need to look at these kind of pages to see the type of localized content that is required now for a good location page. So you have it on the H1, you have it on the SEO title as well, but then you have specific information to, for example, Balham or Meanwood in that example, of the type of properties in there. You see Edwardian houses near Nightingale Lane. You're mentioning specific streets, specific local landmarks, areas we cover, so Balham High Road, Nightingale Lane. This is the type of mentioning local landmarks. This is the type of information that's required for an adequate location page. Going back to the homepage then, as this is probably the main focus for optimizations initially, at least. There we have testimonials here, which is good, but they're static. What we typically like to see, so this is Pro Strokes Leeds. I'm willing to bet they've got a good Google business profile. Yes, so they've got 21 Google reviews here. some of them, yeah, all within 2 months ago, 11 months ago. So they're pretty fresh, and I'm willing to bet that they'll be more recent than these testimonials. This website is built on WordPress. There are plenty of free plugins in there that you just put in the link to your Google Business Profile, and it will pull in the reviews dynamically from there onto your homepage or onto any page that you want. And this is useful for a couple of reasons. One, it keeps content fresh because it will update with new reviews as they come in. But also, it's a lot more trustworthy than a static review. Customers are now getting clever to the fact that it's easy just to cherry pick some reviews there. If you've got a dynamic carousel coming in from your Google Business Profile, and people can tell that these are reviews on Google, then it adds an extra trust element there. Next thing is the Google Business Profile map. So as we can see there is a Google Business Profile. What you'd want to do is have that embedded, the map of that embedded on the homepage. And really this helps, in Google's eyes, link up your website with your Google Business Profile. And if we look at the search terms here, so Decorator Leeds, the first thing that comes up is your local backpack. So anything that helps your Google Business Profile get into these top 3 is going to significantly drive new business. And having the map embed on your homepage is just one thing that will help you boost up on these rankings for the map pack here. Then finally, I noticed that the About Us page, again, is a fair bit of thin content. And not much about history of the business. Now, this is a secondary thing, but Google really likes to see About Us pages in general, and some good information on there because it helps boost the trust indicator for that website. I'd also be tempted to put the actual location you're targeting within the H1, as well as within the SEO title. Again, you want to build up your local expertise of that area that you're targeting, whether that's Leeds, Bradford, Yorkshire, etc. So that's a quick audit. There's probably a lot more to go into on this site, but really with those fixes, I'd be willing to bet you'd be able to jump from the bottom of page 1 up towards those top 3, and also help your Google Business Profile rank as well. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions, then feel free to click the link in the bio and schedule a chat.